All right. It is January 13th, 2026. My name is Christopher Pridham, and I'm here with Bounty Mac, and we're going to be talking about astrology. So, and both of us have sort of unique systems that we've each developed. And I met Bounty. Well, I initially met him a few years ago at a astrology conference, just briefly, and then he happened to give me a call. Um, that was about how many months ago was that, Bounty?
Oh, 9 months.
Yeah, about 9 months ago. So, and he was telling me a little bit about his system. He was asking me about mine, and what interested me or what got me was this. He was looking at my chart and he was kind of talking about his system, but I really like you to demonstrate. It's like that's where it means stuff to me. And he said that within the next 3 days, a family member of mine was going to have a problem with immigration. And it wasn't just a family member, it was a family member of mine that wasn't living here, like close to me. Well, there's only two family members that don't really live really close to me. And that's my oldest son and my oldest daughter. My daughter lives in New York. My son lives in Melbourne, Florida. So, of which he did not really know that they weren't, that's where they live. But this is what he said. And he said they would, that someone was going to have a problem with immigration. Well, I was like, that's one, that's extremely specific. And two, they're both at home. I don't even know what he's talking about. It's like, okay, whatever. Maybe, you try to like fit it in. Maybe it could be this or that or whatever, but didn't matter. We were talking about a lot of things. Well, it so happens that the next morning, I get a text from my daughter, who at the time was in Serbia, which I didn't know she was in Serbia. Um, and she said that, oh, they had a little problem in immigration. So, which I'm I'm sitting there reading that kind of shocked because he said there was a 3 day window and it literally was the next day. And I like texted her back, oh, what happened? And it was just a little problem. It wasn't anything major, but it was a little problem. And she had specifically said, oh, we had a little problem in immigration. So, well, I immediately got a hold of him. But that was such a little mundane thing. But the idea was that he was able to pull that out of my natal chart. Okay. Now, you want to get my attention? That gets my attention because that was very specific, very like mundane, not anything major big, but it is exactly what he said. And ever since then, we've been talking and we talk for hours. And literally, it isn't every day, but it's almost every day. And that's sort of how I've gotten to know Bounty and seen his system and began to adopt different aspects of his system within my own. And I will tell you, I have never met anyone who, if you're wanting to know, like, okay, what, like projecting and forecasting and these kind of things, I mean, he has an incredible system. And so what we were going to do is we were going to begin to sort of let you in on some of these conversations we have. And we have long conversations that go on because we're both very, very much into exploration and we're really just desiring things that work. So we'll challenge each other, we'll test each other, we'll see, hey, does this work? Um, and we are not confined to just running off all the old sort of definitions and systems and all this. We're looking for what works, what's true, what's real. And that's been something that's been very refreshing. because oftentimes you'll run into astrologers who are very fixed. It has to be this way, has to be that way, and neither of us are really that way. We're sticklers, but we're sticklers more for let it be specific. Let's make sure that we're using proper mathematics, that we are using rules. They're maybe not always the standard rules, but we're using a rule that exists that we're following, and we can repeat it. It's not just arbitrary. We tend to not like arbitrary things. We want them to be fairly specific. So that was my introduction to Bounty. So if you would like to share something, Bounty, go ahead.
This is what got with Chris. I'm easily bored. I am pretty much a person that goes into a lot of details of stuff, and I do not like to repeat things that are just general. Now, Chris Pridham, maker from his system Synergy, he made a nail-biting, uh, description of who I am from his Synergy Astrology, and he bited on the just everything. It was exactly who I am. I was a person who is very much into the the AI of things, and very innovative, very pioneering. All these stuff was descriptive in the Synergy platform that it rose out to me. And that got me in that moment. No one don't get me attention like that, because everybody will just give you just the ordinary script of astrology. I'm not tainted by those stuff. Chris did that, and from that moment, he holds my attention. And we have a bandy exchange of information as as he described his system. I was able to kind of see how we get to some of it. I don't know all of his system. I don't. He don't know all of what makes my system, but I just know the surface. And from the point there on, being that I'm very innovative, I have wanted to pin his system where he is able to nail a particular moment and describe it. So I always ask him questions about where's the point, because where my system is play out is degrees and minutes. Degrees and minutes is what makes the story. And I use my system to throw at his system and ask him, where is the degree and minute for this? And then eventually he's unfolding these things. And one thing about Chris, he's not lazy. He will get on that 3:30 o'clock morning downloads from the universe and come back the next morning with a rich array of information that are applicable to just about everybody. Now, the genius, he don't find himself as a genius, but I'll call him a genius in that regard. He's actually a genius without knowing he's a genius, which is also great. If I tell you that genius, you got to be, because I just don't use that word very often. You have to script something to me that will allow me to make those words be so strong enough that I use them. Now, what happens? Our daily exchange brought into a formation from the base of where he was to bring forth the circuit that he now designed. Because in the process of these exchange, there's a design that is that's being created as we go along, making these exchange daily. And with the Elias, the base, and those are the things that I know: the Elias base and the
Dazi.
next nexus, and all those
Nexus,
points. These are
yes.
these are the circuit points of his system. And what he did is that my system differ from him is that he can tell you the psychological makeup of why you do things. Why is it like that? I present this the showcase of the event. I don't tell you why you do it or the psychological reason why you arrive at this position where you're at and why your chart is the way you are. Chris' system is so rich with those psychological terms that when you hear them, it plays out because nobody else don't know. He seems like he's a prying person into your business. He looks into why you do things, and no other person can bring that forth in any other system that I've played in front of them. This is great. This is awesome. So whenever I ask Chris, what is the psyche of this moment? Why is this happening? He's able to go in his system, run his circuit, and able to come with an answer. Now, our system is designed different because there's a granular difference that makes up this both system. My system is super granular. It goes into a lot of specificity. That's why I was able to cast some predictions of what was going on. It went into those areas. It, we do not allow our mind or our personhood to, to interfere with the predictions, with what we have in front of us. We like to have the chart say what it means and without us making any changes to it. And that's the beauty of it. We can sit there and give an answer confidently that this is the case. And whatever is going on, somebody will say, well, this is not where, we're not gonna, I don't think so. But we read the event. Now, how is this happening? Is that the system goes into different planes of existence. In my system, there is 6 planes of existence. There is the physical, there's the emotional, there's the mental, there's the causal, and there's the embryonic stage. I always use that word because it's more rich to most people. Spiritual kind of be just, everybody just, spin over that word, but it's not really anything great. Now, this 6 plane of existence will allow you to know how to handle the chart. You're going to say, is this physical? Because most times when people make predictions, the predictions is not physical, it's actually mental. The prediction is not mental, it's emotional. It's not emotional, it's causal. It's not, all of these stuff are what plays out in the system and give the specificity of the moment. These are the granular apparatus that comes into play with the quantum astrometry system. Then we want to find out the conditions of each planet. A planet just doesn't arrive because me and you are exposed to the same planetary force, but the conditions are specific, different to different people. Why it's different? Because we bring about what we call the lunation apparatus, because it's going to give a specific usage of Saturn for me, for Chris, for everybody else that land on this land. Now, I want to cut into what I'm saying, and I want to go into examples. I want to make this system explain itself. Our present chart that we'll be using is the United States chart because it's the chart that everybody can reach to, everybody can visibly can grab and say, well, this is the case. Now, I will allow Chris to go ahead and plant the moon position, and we're going to go ahead and make a pronouncement as to what the moon is doing in the United States chart. Go, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, yeah. So what we're gonna do right now, I'm gonna try to share the chart here. Um, let's see. All right, so we want to share um share. All right, here we go. Share. All right. So here we go for the chart. This is for the United States here. And what we're looking at is we take a lot of things we'll do both within our systems. Midpoints are used quite a bit. So we found them to be very effective and very, very descriptive. So we start with the AM chart, which is the ascendant and the moon. And you've got the ascendant here at 8 degrees, 14 minutes, Sagittarius. The moon is at 26 degrees, 58 minutes, Aquarius. All right, so we're looking at the midpoint of the ascendant and the moon. And you're looking here at a Capricorn 18 degrees, or the 288th degree. So which would actually be the 287th in minutes, but in mine it kind of rounds up. So it's 19 degrees Capricorn. So the AM chart in the natal would come into the second house, is where it would come in. And then you're dealing with the AS chart, and that is the ascendant and Saturn. And you see that right up here. Excuse me. All right, the ascendant and Saturn, which is again 8 degrees, 14 minutes Sag, and 14 degrees, 48 minutes Libra. And so you're dealing here with a midpoint of 222, or Scorpio 12 degrees, which is the 12th house. So these are two that we're looking at. And like for myself, when you deal with that, when you look at a ascendant Saturn, you're looking at something that's very, excuse me, got this stupid cough. So you're looking at something that's really important. It's something that carries weight. So for the US chart, this would be something that's carrying weight for the US. And again, it's Scorpio 12. So so if I go and I look in my book here, which is the Synergistic Astrology 360 Vibrations Defined, you can see that the AS chart is a 140 vibe, or the refined imaginative drive. And the vibration merges intense vision with bold self-expression, driving individuals to refine and execute their ambitions with precision and authority. It embodies the ability to navigate structured environments with strategic charisma, while preserving a deep sense of personal and collective legacy. Individuals with this energy blend discipline with influence, ensuring their impact is not only immediate, but enduring. Their greatest challenge is learning to temper their high standards with adaptability, allowing their contributions to evolve rather than being confined by rigid control. The primary challenges of this vibration include a tendency to attract deceitful situations and adversaries, leading to defensive postures and deep-seated frustrations. Without balance, secrecy and emotional isolation may develop, reinforcing long-standing grievances that strain relationships and limit growth. A highly critical nature may hinder harmonious interactions, making it essential to balance discernment with understanding to maintain integrity in leadership. So
What
this
is
is
it
the
that
AM.
we're doing?
What's that?
That's the you are. you're playing out each of the chart descriptive of
This is
AM.
this is the chart descriptive of the AS. So
Okay,
this is the
beautiful.
chart of the
Okay.
ascendant, the Saturn and the ascendant. So this is in the
Mhm.
US. This is sort of built into the fiber of America, is
Okay,
this
all right.
refined imaginative drive, which
And then the
begins,
AM. Okay.
and then the AM is the Capricorn 18. So this
Okay.
is really building into that, that deep seated, not just emotion, but there's like a burning into what people sort of react to or respond to. One is about the weight that we carry as a nation, what the desire is to do. That's the AS, and the AM is more about that a little bit more from an emotional side, like how you feel. And that is coming into the Capricorn 18. All right, so Capricorn 18 reads this way. It's the imaginative, idealistic communicator. The vibration blends a deeply imaginative and intuitive nature with a strong need for structure and recognition. Individuals under this influence possess a unique ability to translate abstract ideals into persuasive communication, making them skilled at organizing, influencing, and creative beauty in their chosen field. They have to learn to balance idealism with grounded realism, ensuring that their artistic and spiritual pursuits do not lead them to deceptive or risky adventures. When unbalanced, the vibration struggles with inner conflict between idealism and practicality, leading to mood swings, feelings of guilt, restlessness. Their their impressionability makes them vulnerable to manipulation, and they become easily swayed by others, leading them down unproductive or even destructive paths. There's a risk of quarrelsome tendencies arising when they feel unrecognized, as well as a propensity for risky speculation or chasing unattainable fantasies. So you can see that with America, these two major points, these two midpoints, what they're doing is they're talking about it. Both sides are very visionary, very driven, very wanting to be better, higher, more effective. And yet both also can be led into these unrealistic paths. They want to be very grounded, but they have this very high vision of what is possible. You could almost see within both of these definitions a strong sort of Hollywood factor going on, that there's a very dreamy sort of possibility of what can be. But you can see how these are not fixed. They're both growing, expanding dynamics. And so that is in the base chart, just within the base degrees of the United States, we see this AM and this AS. Now, another thing that we tend to do between Bounty and myself, we will look at what's called the diurnal chart. And you can use the same kind of principle in the diurnal chart. So we just ran one for today, which creates a 18 degree 32-minute Gemini ascendant, and then a 27 degree 2-minute Pisces in set. That's where
Can
Saturn.
I come in right? Can I come in
Yeah,
right here?
absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. So what happens? Chris is reading out all of the signposts of each of these chart in his the synergy astrology. Now, there's the next one would be the natal chart, which is we proceed to get at later on. But what happens when you do the diurnal? The diurnal is when I said earlier on that we do not contaminate the chart with our own ideas, our own feelings, our own current affairs stuff. We allow the chart to choose its position, its ownership on the landscape of the zodiac reel. The ownership that United States have for this moment in time is 29 or is 28 degrees what is it
27 degrees 2 minutes Pisces.
27 degrees and 2 minutes Pisces. That is the ownership. It's rent that space out. and that's the most important point out of any other point. We could have taken any point on the Piscean spread, and we could have said, well, oh well, let's find out what's going. No, we don't do that. The diurnal chart is saying to us, this point is very important. Use it. It's not going to be the case if you look in your own chart, 27 degrees and 59 minutes would be the most important point for you, not the United States, but for you. Now, when we use that and this way system, we are able to drop the prediction, the pronouncement in our lab very easily without any contamination. We can be sure about what we're saying without anybody saying, oh, well, you know, this is that. No, we are very much sure because we did not choose that point. Now, that point in my system is a pivoting point because that's the point that Chris will use and also my system will use. How it's used is that 27 degrees and 3 minutes will be the point that will be using right through the funnel. So what we do, we take that degree and we place it in the funnel. The funnel is the AS chart of the United States, the AM chart of the United States, and the natal chart of the United States. Now, if those who don't know what we talk about when we AS chart is actually the midpoint chart of the Saturn and the rising. The AM chart is the midpoint of the rising of the moon. And that's how we create those charts. Now, what we do, we take that moon position and we run it through the chart. Now, I will ask Chris, where and what position 27 degrees and 3 minutes is located in the AS chart? We first go to the AS chart, and I'm going to ask him that where is that position is.
With the AS chart, wait a minute. So the AS chart is set on Scorpio 12 degrees. So let me move that here like this. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to run, and we're going to run it to 12. We'll take the US chart, we'll run it to 12 degrees Scorpio on the ascendant.
So 27 degrees and 12,
yeah, we're going to run it to well, wait a minute. We're going to run it to 12 degrees. Well, 11 degrees in minutes is what we're running it to.
What is that?
That's Scorpio 11 degrees a minute. That's the AS chart. So the AS chart.
The AS chart is 12 degrees Scorpio?
It's 11 degrees in minutes. Scorpio.
Okay, Scorpio. Okay, all right, good.
Yeah. And so that would put the
moon.
So then the moon is at 25 degrees 38 minutes Aquarius. So this puts then the if we take the diurnal chart and we take the Saturn ascendant midpoint in the diurnal chart. Is that what you were wanting? The Saturn?
No, what I wanted is to take the moon position in the diurnal chart, which you already script as 27 degrees Scorpio and 3 minutes, right?
Yes.
I want you to plan them individual.
So the moon
individual in each of the
AM chart.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the moon, or in the AS chart, the moon then in the AS chart at 27 degrees and minutes of was it Scorpio? Scorpio. It's going to be in the first house.
It's going to be in the first house?
First house, yeah.
Is exactly in the first house.
Yeah, because the first house begins at 11 degrees 44 minutes Scorpio and ends at
Okay.
11 degrees 44 minutes.
Okay. So therefore now, by way of the rule, the Scorpio is a feminine sign, so it's in a masculine house, so therefore it flips, right?
Right. So it's going to go to the seventh house.
Okay, so the moon is in the seventh of the AS chart. All right, let me do a little more explanation. Now, one of the rulings of the system is that when there is a masculine and a feminine rising chart, there is a specification that there's a flipping. If you have a feminine chart, the masculine houses flip if you have a transiting body sits there. So you put a transit body in the first house, what happens is going to flip to the seventh because it's a masculine. If it was a masculine chart, it wouldn't move. It would stay into that house. So all of this is these are the little specifications as to what happens to each chart based on their whether they are masculine or feminine. This is just slow to get used to, but you might end up getting little errors if you're not careful of the flipping rule. The flipping rule uh, uh, happens when there is a masculine. All the all the masculine sign stays in, but if it's a masculine, the feminine houses flip. If it's a feminine chart, all the masculine houses flip. So those are the specification. That's what we just did a while ago. All right. So Chris, let us go
Mm.
to we have the AS chart. Let us go to the AM chart. What position the moon plays is in that chart
So
with the
in the
27. Yeah.
in the AM chart, all right. So the midpoint position of the AM chart is Capricorn 17 degrees in minutes.
Okay.
Okay. So Cap 17 degrees and 50 minutes.
And
Okay.
that's a feminine
Yeah.
chart.
So then what we're doing is we're taking here and we go Capricorn. um let's go. All right, so Capricorn at 1750. All right. And then we're looking at the moon being 2752. The moon was 2752 Scorpio, and
Okay.
2752 Scorpio is going to be in the 11th house.
Okay, so it's going to be in the 11th house. Is it going to be
Yeah.
in 11th house because it's a feminine?
So
r-
it's a feminine house with a feminine ascendant, Capricorn.
Okay, so that means it flips then.
Okay. So it's going to
It flips to
flip
the fifth.
to the fifth.
Okay, so we have 7-5.
Yes, seven
Okay,
five.
all right. So now we need to go to the natural chart, which is the natal chart. The natal chart of the United States is some still like a Sagittarius, right? So it's a masculine
Yeah,
rising.
Sagittarius, 9 degrees or 8 degrees and 14 minutes is the rising. And
Okay,
so if you're dealing with 2752 Scorpio, you're dealing with the 12th house.
it's going to be the 12th house,
Yeah,
certainly.
12th house, and it's got a masculine rising and the
So
feminine sun.
therefore, so therefore, it flips. It also flips to the sixth house.
Sixth house, yeah. So you're
So we
dealing with,
have seven,
so you basically have a five, well, a five, six, and
seven,
seven
five,
house.
six, 7-5-6.
Yep.
All right. So now let me take over. There's another specification that comes in. You you, you, um you want we kind of put in the lunation, sort of give the condition of the moon as it relates to the United States? Are we just going to leave that out and just make it simple?
Well, yeah, let's make it simpler right now. We can go into those
Okay.
details later
Okay. All right. Good. Good.
at
So
another
what we're going to
time.
do, what we're going to do, we're just going to keep it simple. There's another apparatus to get us to
He's going to keep it simple. What he calls simple is not necessarily simple, but you'll get it.
yeah.
So,
So all right. So what we're going to do, we're just going to keep in the funnel system, and we're going to just use the tree charts to determine what's taking place as it relates to the moon. Now, the moon is going to talk about the everyday activity, the domestic sphere of things in anyone's chart, the everyday interactions. That's what the moon plays out. So when it drops into any one of these um, charts, that's what's playing out. That's what the energy of the moon is going to play. The moon is going to capture the everyday activity and the domestic sphere of the individual or the event or thing. So when we drop it in the seventh. Now, one thing about the AS chart is going to give us the subject matter. So we know that right off the bat, the subject matter is going to be in the seventh. So all things seventh is what we're going to be localize all our thinking on. Now, in our system, the meaning of seven is different from everybody else's meaning in the astrological world. Seven mean contracts, mean bonds, promise kept, subscribers. It means your relations. It means your all of these stuff, your desires. All of these are kept in the seventh. So when the moon drops into the seventh, what is going to be showcased in is that the moon is going to be in front of contracts, subscribers, followers, supporters, and desires, employment, marriage, and all of these are in the seventh. Now we're going to go to the AM chart. The AM chart is going to be the fifth.
yes.
Fifth
Yep.
house. Now, the fifth house is going to be anything that you're broadcasting, anything that is entertaining, anything that you're suggesting, anything that you're promoting, anything that is of the individual sense. Uh, all of these stuff's going to it's also from a very local, individual. If you're Instagramming, fifth house come in. If you are entertaining, fifth house come in. If you are broadcasting or entertaining or encountering, the fifth house placement comes in. If you are talking about your surrounding and your livity, the fifth house comes into play. These are all these word caps that we're going to use as we go along, but we're just naming the individual caps for each house as it presents itself in this this cycle that we're talking about. Now we proceed to the natal chart. The natal chart is what? You have
Wait a
7.
minute, Bounty. Wait a minute. So we went over the seventh house where we started off in the AS chart, and the AS
Yeah,
chart was about subject matter. And then
yeah.
the AM chart is going to be about what?
Now, the AM chart is going to be the descriptive. It's going to be the adjectivia of the chart. So it's going to talk about the description. It's going to describe the situation.
Okay.
The AS chart is going to be the subject matter, the
Subject
noun.
matter. Yeah.
Right. And the
Okay.
AM chart is going to be the descriptive. Now, the natal chart is going to be the action, the verbal part of it, right? The verb of the operation. So each one of these charts has their function. When you funnel through the system, the first chart which is the AS chart, is going to talk about the subject matter. What is the subject at hand? Then you proceed to the AM chart. The AM chart is going to give the descriptor. It's going to tell you whether it's red, green, black, or it's a triangle-looking shape. It got 2 eyes, 6 eyes, 6 wheels. All of this is going to be this part of the funnel. It's going to be the descriptive. It's going to be the adjectival position of the moon as it's funneled through this funnel. Then you walk across and you go into the natal chart. The natal chart is going to give you the action taken, the verbal position. That's where this is placed in the funnel. So when we go over to the natal chart, we have not gone to the natal. What is the house in the natal chart that we have? What
The
is it?
sixth house.
The sixth house. Now the sixth house is about a defense. It's about protecting. It's about shielding. It's all of this is about that. It's also about analyzing. It's also about service provided. All of this is and it's also about health matters, right? All of this is there, and it's also about the expert. The expert is also all these are in the line with the sixth house. The sixth house are going to talk about there's rights involved. Then we're number one. There's something you're protecting, you're shielding, that comes on, and you're defending. That's one of the sixth house signification. This also goes into that you're detailed and you're analyzing things. It's also talk about the expert. It's also talk about there's something being repaired. That's the sixth house right there. And it's also talk about the health matters. All in all, sixth house talks about rights, welfare, and all those stuffs are all lined up in the sixth. Now, the trick in this, anyone can take one of these clippings from the meanings of each individual chart. When you're going to see the magic come to flow, the moon is going to walk into these individual charts, actually going through a funnel. The moon is going to be affected by each one of these charts, but it's going to give a flow in the script, just like the movie have the video. Each one of the films is preceding the other. So what happens is there's a procedure of the film. So think of this as a film, a picture in your mind. As the moon walks through the funnel, what happens? It clips the individual energies of each of these charts as its specific chart of placement. It's going to give a story as it flows through. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab each meaning, being because I am richly placed with meaning in my head, so I can quickly do this. Other people might take a little time to get this, but it's all about just grabbing a meaning from the basket and just flow it in. So you're not going to put anything in the flow. All you're going to do is some grammatical separations of the individual chart differences, the spacing. So here we talk about the everyday domestic activity of the United States going to drop into what we talk about contracts. It's going to talk about promise kept. So here is it, the contracts that are, and then it's going into the AM chart. The AM chart is going to be the descriptive. So here is those contracts are promise kept, going to be in a situation where there's some sort of broadcasting or some sort of entertainment value or media situation that is playing out. So here's that there's some promise kept or contracts or relations that are involved with they're showcasing and broadcasting something. And then we go into the natal. The natal is the 6th. So here is it that there's a contract, there's a promise kept that is funneled through the media or through a broadcasting entity or is something recreational that is going to land into where there's some significant defense to this. There's some protection that is involved. So here the United States is talking about an event of today. Today, the event is going to be about some relation, some contract, some bonding effects between persons. That's going to be showcased through the media, through some broadcasting apparatus. That's going to take on more of a defensive, protective shield from the from the avenue of the United States. So that's what's playing out for today for the United States. So here the United States is taking on some relations, some particular persons that the United States has some relations or some bond with, right? And they're going to go in front of a platform and either suggest or be broadcasting through a media outlet or a media enterprise or media apparatus, that they're in a position where they are strongly defending that bond or contract or that relations that they have. So they are shielding and protecting and defending. So here's the story. I've kept the meaning from all different charts position. All I did, I grabbed the meaning and able to tell a story. Now, what happens that I just gave the first meaning of it. Now you can drop back and say, well, let us say, well, let's talk about a fan base, because 7 House is about fan base, subscribers, followers, supporters, and the followers and the supporters going to take on some sort of broadcasting or some sort of entertainment outlet or media to what? To defend rights. So you see where that's playing out. So here it is that I take another meaning, I drop back on the first meaning I grabbed on the first two significators, and I drop back the meaning. Now here's what plays out. I grab, and anyone can do it. So you take the meanings. The meaning of the moon is going to be the everyday domestic scenery is going to clip. Here, some sort of followers or subscribers are that's going to be platforming themselves through the media houses or the broadcasting themselves, and the action taken is going to be a defense of rights, because 6 House is about civil rights and defending and protecting and shielding. All of this is what be taken. Now, without me looking at what's going on or capping what's going on, I can confidently say that this is what's going on in the United States of America right at for today, for this event for the day. What is taking place is going to be off. I can grab 2 stories. I can say that the subscribers, the fan base, the fans are taking on a media outlet or media enterprise to broadcast some sort of defense or some sort of rights being played onto the American public. I also can grab the first meaning and take on that there's some bonds, some relations that is now going to be broadcast to media outlets that's going to be about them protecting are providing some sort of an assistance. So you'll hear that there is some bond, some relations that's going to take on the media outlet, and there's going to be showcasing some sort of assistance, because sixth house is about assistance, help, services provided, all of those stuff. Now, I said all of that, and everybody can grab anything from the basket and play the words as it goes through the funnel. Now, there's other specifications that goes into nailing this pronouncement. There's also the lunation that I do not discuss, because it's going to give me the conditions. Because whenever a planetary body goes into a funnel, it goes into the funnel with a condition. It's either it got two eyes, it's been injured, it's been shot up, it's some sort of thing that has been weathered. The planet has been weathered, and it goes through this funnel. It carries its a unique operation signature, but it also carries the condition, whether it's had two legs, it's been burnt up, it's been waterlogged, it's been rained upon, and it's going through the funnel. So these other aspects to the system also give the conditions of the planetary body as it goes through the funnel. You want to take over from that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, because what we're doing is we're just looking, I mean, Bounty's demonstrating some of the aspects of his system in planning the energy in the ground. Okay. Now, a lot of this will be new for a lot of people, and it does take a little while to sort of understand the cycle, to understand what's going on. And I know that because it took me a little while. Okay. So I'm not speaking from non-experience. But once you start getting into it, once you start seeing how this kind of works, you can see how specific it really is and how it's very powerful. So one of the things I was looking at, and I'm comparing it here to the, so you take that moon, that Bounty's placing the moon in these three different houses from the AS, the AM, and the natal chart, and he's creating the story from it. Like again, it's subject matter, it's dealing with the descriptive adjective, and then the action verb is what he's looking at. And these things really do work very well. Now, for me, I go to that base energy and I look at the circuit. So in that moon that's going in these three houses, the base energy is Scorpio 28 degrees or 27 degrees in minutes, which I use the sort of the Sabian way, and it rolls into the next degree is how you're doing it. So that really, the tagline here for that Scorpio 28 is it's in the vibrations, it's the strategic illuminating authority. It's also about really feeling the future tension. That's what it's about. And the clean energy, it senses where reality is cracking and wants to evolve beyond it. So the base of the energy is sensing where reality is cracking and wants to evolve beyond. That's why when Bounty talks about going in this seventh house, and there was something you mentioned, Bounty, about really the idea of what's happening. What was the energy for today, and you were dealing with a problem. Trying to solve a problem, that became a major focal point, correct?
Yes, what happened is that the subject matter is have to be some bond that the United States having, some relations, some
Yes,
sort
there's a
of
relationship. Yes.
some relation, some bond, some contracts, some promise kept. All of these are
Yes.
bonding. These are
Yes.
bonding effects. All of
There's
these.
a
When you
bonding
promise
effect that
kept,
there's a problem
yeah,
in.
yes. So once it
So,
moves into the AM the AM chart, which is going to talk about that. Yes, they're going to talk. The United States going to talk about some bonding effects or bonding relationship or some contracts or promise kept, and they're going to go and they're going to make the descriptive here. They're going to go and broadcast it. They're going to
so
they're going to
as you
showcase it.
Yeah, as you're
Yeah.
talking, I mean, of course, the first thing, understanding sort of some of the things that happened today, the first thing I'm going to think of is the United States and Iran, and what's happening there in the discussions in the relationship. Now, again, if I
Mm-hmm.
look at the circuit of Scorpio 28, it's about field of future tension. It senses where reality is cracking and wants to evolve beyond it. The shadow aspect is this apocalyptic move with being obsessed with what's wrong. And so in any energy, you can have a positive moving flow, or it can get like fixated on an aspect and it sort of tends to stop. So
Mm-hmm.
the idea is you're wanting to take that and see where this thing can evolve to instead of being obsessed with what's wrong. The next is the Stasio, which is Aquarius 13. This says question the rules. And it says it brings innovative thought, unique frameworks, outsider insight. That's the idea of what the energy can do. And this is really dealing in that AM personal creativity, this sort of like this descriptive. And there can be the unique frameworks and outsider insight is what can happen. On the negative side, you can have contrarian identity, rejects for ego, not truth. Okay, so it can just reject the whole thing, not based on truth, but just based on ego and the self. So
Can I ask
that's
a question?
Nastasia. Yes.
So what I want to kind of illuminate for anyone listening is that
Mm-hmm.
your system will cap the moon. So the moon at
Yes.
27 degrees and 12. So the
Yes.
meaning of the moon in your system funnel through the AFs, the AS and the AM and the natal chart.
Natal. Uh huh.
Yeah. So what is the meaning as for the moon position as per from the diurnal chart? Because the diurnal chart is where we grab
Right. That's what we're
our
doing. We're
from.
doing the meaning from the diurnal chart, moving it through the houses and the meaning that you just shared.
Okay, all
So
right, good,
we're
good, good.
seeing
So
how well not just the base, but the whole circuit fits.
okay,
So
all right,
the
good.
idea is that you're sort of in your system, it describes the same thing in essence. And one of the things we found between our two systems is they do tend to work very well. Bounty is very good in describing what goes on, and mine kind of looks behind, as he described before, and it's dealing with the why, what's actually
Yeah,
happening in the psychological field. And
yeah.
so and sometimes you can understand better, like, okay, what's manifesting when you understand the why. You kind of see where it's coming
Hmm.
from.
Yes.
So the next stage is the Nexus, which is Aries 27, and it's about acting with courage. So in order to do the right thing, you have to act with courage. It takes bold, sharp steps, aligned with vision, cuts dead weight, instead of just being impulsive, combative, and burning bridges. That's the negative side. So, and then finally, it goes to where it's really headed, which is the Elias quantum point of Virgo 26. And this is really where we even see the whole idea of these different houses and what they're trying to do. And in the natal chart, it ends in the sixth house. It's so funny because here the Elias quantum point also ends in a Virgo 26, which would be a sixth house dynamic.
Hmm.
It's really weird how these things happen, but this really is how it works. Also, you should know that we did not pre-do this. Okay, in a sense, we have not gone through this. So we're actually going through this. You're hearing the conversation how we would normally have the conversation. Okay. So we have not like looked at all this and we know where we're going. No, we're just doing it. It just makes it
Yeah,
more
yes.
interesting.
So yeah, yeah, that's very important to say, Chris, because we kind of, we freebase this thing. We kind of,
We do.
not
Yeah.
we do not go on a scripted mind on the matter. We just taken it. For example, we were going on the Saturn, but we move into to the moon. So you see, it's not something that we go and just plan it. We want to be
Yep.
authentic in the presentation of the matter. So one of the
Yeah.
things here is that we're going to go and say, well, based on what was said earlier on, as we funnel through the moon through the tree system. Now, what happens now? You hear me talk about the visuals, the the physical
Yeah.
things that will showcase itself. Um, Chris telling you the psychological, the meaning why these things are being played out as it goes through the houses. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to go and as you're going to look at all the clippings of the today's, and as it relates to what we're saying earlier
Right.
on with, yes. So
Yeah, we
you're going
try
to
to
go,
find where some of this stuff does fit,
yes. So
simply because we're looking back.
yeah,
We could look forward and do stuff, and that's great, and we will be doing
yeah,
that as well.
yeah,
But it's like if you're looking forward, we can just say it. We're not trying, it's like we'd have to wait to see us go through it, and then we could discuss it after that. But
yeah.
we're really just doing today, and we're not really up to date on like exactly everything. I just happen to know that I know Iran is a thing right now. I've seen a
Yeah.
little bit of it, not a lot. I know that you could take um, the shooting that went on a few days ago, and there's still a lot of talk about that, but it's probably not the main focus. As I was hearing Bounty speak, and dealing with the different houses, and especially when you're dealing with sort of a contract and a deal, the only thing I know there is supposed to be talks with Iran. So, and there are contracts with Iran that we have presently. So it's like, okay, that seems to be the major or the more major sort of story of the day. So I'm going to guess that's where it's going to go. But that's just a guess. It's not for sure. And like when we talk, we try to change. We try to really check those things out. Does that make sense? Is that real or is it not? And I will tell you, I use AI a lot. I'll run this whole description through AI and say, hey, is this fitting with the stories of today? Like what we've done. I'll run it through and, it's like, yes, okay, this fits. How well does it fit between 1 and 10? Give me a score. I want you to be harsh on it because I don't want the definitions to just be finagled. That's why I'm actually putting on the screen this is from my book in the circuits. So this is the way it's written. So this wasn't written for
Yeah.
this evening. This is actually already part of the book.
Yeah.
So in the last one here, we see the Elias quantum point being Virgo 26, which says to refine what works. All right. So the clean final form is sharp, useful, precision. It's systems, it's tools, it's teachings that actually help people. The shadow is being overly critical, shedding nuance or shredding nuance, stuck in improving forever. So it's really wanting to get something on the ground that's going to work. So this whole visionary philosophical drive, this whole circuit is about feeling tension, questioning the rules, acting with courage, and finally coming up with something that's going to work. The one-line summary here is intense sensing, radical ideas, decisive action, practical refinement. This circuit can craft a visionary problem solver or a volatile reformer who never stops cutting. So either it's a perpetual reforming who never just stops, or it's someone who's a visionary problem solver. They just want to solve the problem. That's the ultimate energy that's passing through these three houses of the 7th, the 11th, or the 5th, the 7th, 5th, and 6th houses. And so you can
You
see
want
where,
you want to run it because I don't know what really take place today.
yeah, I'm going to run
So
through.
let's
I'm going to see. I'm going to
run
run through with the
yeah,
AI
yeah.
and see what it says. But these are these are the again, these are the concepts, these are the things that are there that you can see, okay, all based on the diurnal chart for the United States. All right, so we're basing this on the diurnal chart of the United States, which is the energy of the day. That's really what we're looking at. So I'm going to take this here. Um, let me see. Let me run this through some AI stuff. Oh, wait a minute. All right.
So what we
Okay.
got here, what we got as per my system is that some bond, some contract, some sort of following that's going to take on something to do with some broadcasting. You see, there's something through the media houses that's going to be broadcast. A contract, a bond, followers, and a fan. Some sort of this going on. It's going to follow. It's going to go through some sort of platform and a media platform that's going to broadcast this, and it's going to be about the action taken. Is going to be about something to do with something shielding and protecting or defending so there's a contract, there's a bond, there's some relations that's going to be broadcast to the world or United States, and it's going to take on the action of some sort of shielding and protecting or defending. So some relation is going to take on a strong defense, some shielding and protecting. Now, the other parts to it is that this follower or subscriber will be taking on is very entertaining, and is going to make a strong what do we call some rights involved, because 6 hours is about rights. So there's this relationship that's going to be showcased, and is showcasing about some rights involved, some defending some rights or some civil rights involved in all of this. So that's one of the clippings. It's also we take on that you're relating who are what you're relating to through the media houses that you're going to try to protect or shield. That's what plays on in the United States. So in the everyday activity, there is something, some entity, somebody that's going to take on some sort of relating or some sort of that is a follower, a subscriber, or some person that takes on that form that's going to play itself through the media houses. So broadcast it themselves. And they're going to do this for the purpose of defending and shielding and protecting an issue regarding this. So this is the United States. This is what's playing out.
What it says is this. Your circuit does fit the dominant quote today, January 13th. If you read it as seventh house storyline, who you're facing, negotiating, narrating through a fifth house spectacle frame, then executed through the sixth house machinery, agencies, enforcement, policy implementation, where it fits, seventh house subject matter, open opponents, treaties, trade pressure, international push-pull. The field of future tension today, the biggest through line is relationship as pressure. The U.S. is escalating leverage against external counterparts, especially via Iran-linked tariff threats that necessarily entangle third-party trading partners. That's classic seventh house material, not internal reform, but conflict negotiation projected outward. Shadow match is the apocalyptic mood, shows up when foreign unrest plus punishment language becomes the end times rhetoric. The fifth house descriptive, the storytelling layer, performance, framing public theater, Stasia 13, questions the rules. A lot of today is not just what is done, but how it's narrated. Public statements, big symbolic framing. We're changing the rules and the identity change around it. Even Powell or the Fed arc is being cast as dramatic legitimacy contest. Independence versus political power that becomes a public storyline. Then the shadow match is the contrarian identity, shows up when the rule questioning becomes ego posturing. Finally, the sixth house action, agency execution, bureaucracy enforcement, operational consequences. The nexus here, Aries 27, act with courage. Today's headlines are heavy on state power being applied operationally, immigration enforcement conflict, legal administration blowback, and the broader do it now posture in economic policy pressures. That's the Aries at nexus in the sixth house lane. Decisive action that creates immediate system strain. Shadow match burns bridges is exactly the risk when operational move triggers resignation lawsuits or institution or counter mobilization. Where it fits only if the EQP shows up, Elias quantum point, otherwise it's a mismatch. So the Elias quantum point, refine what works. The circuit only fully lands if the day produces measurable practical refinement, policies with clear metrics, implementation, details, and real world usability. One clean match today is the Microsoft Data Center Initiative, concrete commitments, rates, water reporting, region by region data. So if today's actions stay at the pressure theater without credible process, Virgo flips to the shadow you named endless critique, procedural weaponization, and improvement. So the quick fit, not fit verdict is fit strong, fits conditional in the practical refinement, not fit. Any soft human interest news isn't really the circuit. Today's dominant tone is power systems and escalations. Bottom line, today reads like your circuit is in the high voltage register. The only way it doesn't distort is if Virgo, Elias quantum point, is allowed to prove useful with specifics instead of cutting forever. That's just a quick analysis of the, going through some very basic things with the AI. It does show a fit, and it wasn't really necessary. It wasn't a forced fit. You're not trying to force the thing. But again, we're not talking about some spectacular thing that was supposed to happen today. We have what we did was we took one circuit, we showed some, in a sense, mundane things, and we're able to pull them out through this system to say, hey, this is the kind of day you're going to have. Instead of just looking and trying to see the big things in life, like just the major things, and which it will do, but it also shows your every day, what's happening in that day, and how actually quite specific it can be, which again, it's very interesting. And these past several months, 9 months, again, working with Bounty, working in this system, working together, sort of going back and forth. It's been very productive, just in able to find, okay, how does this thing work? Can we see the rhythm of life and find it expressed, not only through, let's say, a nation, like looking at the United States chart, also individuals and whatnot, just to see how life is expressed. So there's been a lot of really encouragement in doing this, because too often all you're looking for is the big stuff, and life isn't always about just all the big things. It's about the daily stuff, how life happens, and can you see it in a chart? And with this type of sort of granular system, does it take a little bit of work? Yeah, it does. I'm not going to say it doesn't take a bit of work. It does take a bit of work, to look at that. Are you going to do that every day? Right now, no. I mean, but wait till we get this on the computer, when you can just push a button and see your whole day expressed. That'll be a little different story then. But we were, wanting to get this and start, sort of sharing this with people to, see what people think, get their comments, get their own sort of ideas going. We're very open to things. When we talk about stuff that works and stuff that doesn't work, not everything we've done works. I mean, some of it gets repetitive, and it's like, does that really add anything to the system? And right now we're just kind of scratching the surface, because I know Bounty can go into a lot more detail on stuff than we even just did here. This is just a little bit of an overview of a day. And again, it's just looking at one little part of the system. But if it gets your interest, great. We plan to do this on a regular basis, just to have some of these conversations. Is there anything you wanted to add to that, Bounty?
Yes. I mean, you localize the two systems as how they flow through the chart, and you use the independence of the AI and say, well, let us see what goes on for the day. We didn't know what really take place today. All we had was what it was in front of us. We took those the scriptures from the diurnal chart, we placed this in the system. We actualize both system by way of my system dropping into the plain story that is in front of you, and the story that is capped from Chris system, because Chris system go into this the how the why things happen, the motives behind it, than just what is plain. Hey, I give you this. That's what's in front of you. That's what is taking place. It tells you why you're doing it, why it's coming up, what is it behind it, what is are the interlinking um, um, uh, motives and desires and unknown uh, energies that are playing up with the United States or with a particular individual. It tells the story as it flows through the chart. Each one of these chart points are just actualizers of the each identifying energy. The Chris uh, energy point that he described as 27, it goes through the funnel, and each one of these charts actualize them and emphasize them, amplify them, and bring them out to what is playing out. And when Chris is asked the question, why is this happening? What really happening to United States as it relates to the story that is in front of us? Chris can go in and microscopically say, listen, you are seeing this happening, but this is what actually the motive behind it. This is what's going to take place eventually, because these are the energy points of the individual, the things, and the persons that are being capped at this moment. Now, each one of these. Now, one other item of information that we didn't put into this story is that the moon was actually on top of the Uranus, the planet Uranus. So what happened with the moon? The everyday activity will, but the Uranus is about excitement. It's about communal stuff. It's about the community. So here, the everyday community and excitement is going to place itself into some sort of bonding relationships setup that's going to be broadcast to where they are defending a right or shielding or protecting. Those are the stuff that are playing on into this. So we will take an individual planet and we say, well, what sort of relations that it playing out with, because we take the aspects will give a script between two planets and it's go by those stuff, and then it will say, well, in this case it's a conjunction, so the script is playing is some sort of combativeness that is going to play between our everyday domestic scenery with friends and communal situation, because that's what Uranus plays out to be. And that's going to rotate itself through the chart, and as those stuff goes through, we can get a real vivid picture of what played. Now, what we say here is just a percentage of what really take place in our predictive model. We only use just the simple apparatus. There's other apparatus that are not in use as we are playing. We choose not to use them because it takes so much information to and so much gutting that we do not want to overload anyone on information. So we just take work. As long as we able to exercise this funnel system first, where people get used to it, then we can add the other apparatus that are involved. With the other apparatus, there's a lot of pinning and more vivid microscopical viewing of what really take place in the United States chart or any individual. You want to take on that, Chris?
Well, yeah, I mean, with what you're saying, so it's sort of like looking at a diamond and looking at all the different facets. You and again, it gets. I will tell you, it can get quite tedious. You pick out little things, like you can go through a whole continuing down these lines, looking at different aspects, and you'll see something that adds a little bit to the overall story. It adds a detail that you didn't have before, which again can be very effective and very useful. but they take time because literally you're trying to look at it from all these different angles. You're looking at the same thing, you're looking at the same event, but you're just seeing it from different angles. And it's fascinating. I mean, we've done it, and it takes time. It does take time though, because we're doing everything by kind of hand. It's not hand. We still have the computer to do a lot of stuff, in a sense, at least pull charts, but all these other ways that we're doing it, trying to get the midpoints, trying to see where it fits in the chart, which house it fits in. Okay, those are all done by, that has to be done by hand. Then getting the definitions, all that kind of stuff. Now, I've got a lot of things written down, which helps a lot. But that's the way this works. And again, it gets very detailed, like Bounty said. The other thing in the diurnal is you have Uranus right at the opposite of the moon, and it's at 2739, as you can see on the screen there, and then you have the moon at 2752. So that's a pretty direct opposition. And would that be a factor? Yes, that would be a factor, absolutely a factor. But that's why we went and we did the moon, because the moon is obviously a factor. And if you just look at the base degree of 28 Scorpio and then 28 Taurus, that's another way to do it, you know. And you can see that 28 Taurus is this timeless beauty metamorphosis, and it's the vibration that harmonizes deep emotional resonance with intellectual refinement, embodying a structure approach to relationships and beauty. So you can go and begin to look to see, okay, what is the concept of that particular drive that Uranus is trying to do? And is this a disruptive kind of quality here? It is. It's disrupting the status quo. And I don't think anybody's going to be hard pressed to see that the world right now is going, and the US is going through a disruption of status quo. I don't think that's hard to recognize at all. And it is. But it's like, where is this going? What are we looking to do? What does the energy say? One of the things that's a little bit, I would say, unique, at least in the understanding of energy with both Bounty and my like systems, is that we look at energy as not a static thing. It's not a one-time thing. It's a movement, that all the energy moves. As you can see, as we went through, we went from the 7th to the 5th to the 6th. Energy moves. So it's not just a one-time hit and that's the end of it. It's like, where is it trying to go? And if you don't understand where an energy is trying to go, you're not really seeing what's going on, and you're not going to be able to really project and predict, like, okay, what is exactly happening? So one of the things that we both work on is, where is the energy going? Where is it going? And so for me, I'm dealing again from the psychological point of view, what's trying to happen. And with Bounty system, he plants it on the ground. And that's the beauty between both of ours. They really do work hand in hand as to, okay, here's kind of the psychology here, the drive, and that it's manifesting. It's important to know, like, for example, today, it's important to know that it's the 7th, the 5th, and the 6th. That defines what that energy is trying to do in these fields, instead of the 12th, 1st, and 2nd. That would be very different. You know, it would manifest very differently. You would see it differently. And to tell you the truth, it really wouldn't make much sense if that's what was happening right now. Wouldn't fit that. It fits in the 7th, 5th, and 6th. And the energy, it just fits and flows there. So again, these are the things, and we'll be getting into, we'll be going through more of these, getting into more detail. We'll also do them for, individuals, seeing how an individual plays out and how that slightly varies from looking at a country and what's happening there. Although it's very exciting right now looking at the country, because so many things are going on and so much is in flux and change. And so it's like, it's important kind of to know, all right, what is trying to happen in a world that has so much instability right now, as it does. Again, Uranus right on the moon. Do I think that there's a feeling in the country of instability, and could there be a little emotional tension that's going on? Yes, I think that's quite obvious. Could people be feeling fear? Well, they could definitely be feeling.
And you said the right script word, emotional tension, because actually it's an applicable word in my system, because it is, in the traditional system, the moon is is an opposite. In my system, it's not an opposite. It's actually showing an emotional tension. That's what it actually means in my system, because it's not because in my system there is a span of 720 degrees, and it relates things and it's aspect things and it derive meanings from the 720 degrees setup, not
Right.
the 360, the 720 degrees setup. Actually, in its full glory and its full illumination, you would actually have an hexagon circle type that says six sides, and all these six sides are going to tell you as it goes around the circle, it will want to tell you the when somebody's in the first spot, these people tend to be more um, pioneering. And if the people are in the third sector, they tend to be more speaky, spokey, movement type. Their body movements are tend to be more emphasized because most time people think of a Gemini, a third house, a three factor as vocal expressions. But in my system, it's capped movement. Anything that moves is capped the three concept, not just a pinned expression of vocal, just because most people think about speaking when you think about the trees. Trees is about movement. It's actually that's what it's anything that moves. So in my system, it's actually saying movement. When I look at a person or a person individual, and I ID them by their movement, how I move, by mechanical, how they move physically, I have ID them. That's a movement. That's a three concept. How they relate to somebody else from a distance, that's another movement. How how do they vocalize themselves? That's a movement. That's words moving on other words. That's movement. So the ideal cap for the word or Gemini is about movement. And so um, I have witnessed some people struggling on the just to find out a particular person as they ID them in the astrological traditional system. And what happens, they did a very poor job because what happens, they were bringing about, there's a particular person that I remember was Steffi Graf. Steffi Graf was not a vocal person in terms of how or the expression, how she identify herself in the three house concept was her movement. She had she had a movement of style, or body movement, or body mechanics was what highlighted, not her vocal expressions. So whenever we see a treat, we do not automatically say that that person is a speaking person. We actually say that they will identify themselves either by speaking or by mechanical movement or by relating. They have a lot of relating going on. So you see, do you want to add something to that, what I've just said, Chris?
It's um well, again, when you're getting into far more granular definitions, uh, it's not that your TikTok definitions are completely wrong. Okay. So, or your TikTok astrologer definitions, or your basic things, they're not like wrong. They're just very broad. That's what it is. And so, can they sort of misrepresent? Yeah, yeah, you can do that. And so, one of the things that Bounty is getting into is just the granular nature of these particular systems. They get very specific. So, like for myself in the synergistic astrology, there isn't just Aries. There's 30 different versions of Aries, and depending on the degree, and with Bounty, it even gets more. Well, because there's not just 30. Like you take the 30, but then you deal with the different houses, you deal with all the different things, and they all factor in. So it just gets a lot more detailed, which means more work. I mean, in order to figure those things out, it takes a little more work. And a lot of people aren't really that interested in doing that. But if you want things that are accurate, if you want things that are really going to work, actually, that's what it takes in order to be able to do that. It takes that kind of depth. And that's what we kind of tend to like to do because we get bored with the other stuff because it's too simplistic. Just to talk about you have Sun in Aries in the third house. Oh, you must be this way. No, I mean, maybe not. Maybe you hit one that's sort of right. But that's really not the way things work. It's just way more detailed. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, hey, follow along. We're going to be putting these up. I don't know how often, but we are definitely, I mean, we'll get at least two, or who knows, two, three, whatever a month. We'll get these things up. And you have any questions, feel free to ask. We would love to, people that are interested. It's not like you've got a mass amount of people that do this kind of depth astrology. So they kind of keep it to some simple things.
To take home on this, to make this be our last thing to say, we are astrologers that are very granular. So and because of this granular setup that we employ, we do not take our thing as dogma like a lot of people will take. We actually entertain the exchange channeling from anyone. Anyone want to challenge, whether you're a mathematician, a politician, whatever. We can take our system and front it right in front of anyone and ask them, do you want to test it? Do you want to go into this? And we can comfortably make that be a contest. Not also, we also, because the granular, we allow ourselves to always take on the little pieces and little particle pieces that people be saying in little conversation, because our mind is so so combustive, there's a lot of combustion in our thoughts. We'll take somebody's simple word and somebody's simple exchange, and we'll find something in that. And will we use it in our system? Because these little things that people will talk about, we actually will use and say, well, you know what? Let me really go in and see where my system actually articulate that point of view that this person is sharing from the traditional viewpoint. Let us go into where that. So that's why it's important that we we take any and anybody's conversation, whatever small it is, and we use whatever material that they present, and we make the system talk and say something about it, and make the system even better because we take on the ideas, or however small it may is or insignificant it may be. We use that and to update the system at all times. So we are open to any and anything that anyone have to say, because we are ruled by granular um, system that allows us to not fix to any dogma. We are open for exchange for all things that astrology, and we want it to be the greatest system on earth by making it be open to any and anyone. We just don't want it to be stagnate itself into the traditional viewpoint. We want us to expand from that point of view. We are living in the 21st century. We have to draw on the energy forms that exist in our everyday life and use those language to explain astrology. We also have to understand that we have to understand English language. The language of English language we have to understand, because it's a very important um, ingredient in how we move the ideas across to everyone and how we interpret the energy forms that exist in our now world. The now world that we live in is what we have to use as a resource, not yesteryear. This is the time for us to explode. Some people say that astrology is going to collapse. I don't think it's going to collapse. What's going to happen is that there are more people is going to um, be asked to be utilizing this expertise that a number of us have. It's going to showcase itself. It's going to blast from where it's at now to greater heights, because now we have a lot of other forms and tools at our disposal that's going to make us great at what we do. But we're not going to be great by regurgitating what exists in the past. We're going to be great when we put in front of us, test it, and not just only testing, we just make testing that are fair, that we don't try to say we impose ourselves on the matter. We allow the system to play itself on us, not we play it on it. So we get true answers, correct answers. And
Yeah.
when we go into anybody's chart, we're able to make the very sharp analytic viewpoint of their system. We can go and say, well, listen, you are presented with this citizen, and this is the reason why you need to go do this. This is what's going to happen. It's not going to happen in the physical form, it's going to happen in your mental exchanges. A mental exchanges or movement exchanges, meaning it's going to be with you relating to other people. It will mean that you jump on the transportational bus, and you get the idea, and all these stuff is going to play out in these schemes. Go ahead, Chris. We're going to land in
Well, yeah, I think
in
that's
more with this.
I think that's really good. I think they're getting kind of where we're coming from. And so we'll end this at this point. And again, thanks for if you made it all the way to the end. Thanks. We appreciate it. Again, any questions? Oh, please, we love questions. We would love to be able to take questions and begin to break those things down. We just are we're astrology enthusiasts. We love it. We're not here. We're not really selling you anything. We're not doing anything like that. So we just want stuff that works, and you can rip on us. Well, if you're going to rip on astrology, hopefully you know what you're talking about. Because a lot of people, oh, I don't believe it, but they don't even know how it even works. So not really interested in that kind of stuff. But we are definitely interested in, okay, what about this or what about that? Or again, we are not against what has happened in the past and the traditions. We're not against it. We're just really for stuff that works. And we have tools now that they didn't have before. And we're trying to use those tools. We're trying to get in and take them and move it forward, advance astrology so that it becomes much more usable, much more effective, and something that really can help humanity. Again, we've seen it. We use this in our own lives. So it's not like we're just telling you what to do. These are things that are practiced by us. We practice these things. We try to understand them and we see, do they work? Do they help us? So again, thank you so much. Thank you, Bounty. This has been great. And we'll do this again really soon. So for now, adios. Enjoy the rest of this month as it plays out and everything. And we're going to do one before the end of the month because we do want to talk about February because there's a lot of stuff going on then. So enjoy until we see you again. Bye. Have a good one.
Well, all right, great.
All right.